Welcome, welcome. Hi, everybody. We are thrilled to be here. We are excited to talk about tonight is our June pattern of the month, Kelsey's blouse. You know, a few years back I said I think blouses were going to be extinct because everything was stretch, everything was knit, everything was not blouse fabric, and I'm thrilled to see blouses come back. I just love blouses. I think they're just so beautiful and so feminine. So the whole reason that I did the fitting a couple times ago, a couple webcasts ago on Belinda with classic blouse is I wanted to kind of get you ready for this 709, and the 709 is a blouse pattern. It's a beautiful blouse pattern. This original was an Armani. Kelsey's a great customer. But this Armani was just, $800 for this blouse, but it was beautiful, just a beautiful silk. And it wasn't that it was anything wonderful. It just had the name and it was silk and it was a beautiful blouse. So, a lot of women who can't sew will definitely pay that kind of money. And I visited back several times while it was on sale. While it was on sale at Neiman's, and it never went on sale. It sold out at full price. So it's just pretty. It's got a beautiful portrait collar. It's got a princess seam. I love it. I love the pattern. And so we're going to take it and just make it several different ways and show you the versatility of it. That's our goal tonight, so that you can really get the most out of it. Obviously, our June pattern of the month, we always put that one on sale, so we can really make the most of one pattern and get a lot of looks out of it. I wanted to mention something in the beginning. I got an email from a dear customer today who is on our enthusiast page, our Facebook enthusiast page, and she was just translating the fact that possibly some had real frustration with grading and what grading is and when they need it, etc., etc. So I just thought I would mention, rather than try to put it in tonight just because we've got it packed, we have hit June 1, and June 1 was a date where we had passed 6 months, and PBS and the release of Series 600, our Series 600 of PBS is things I learned in design school. And I think I personally think everyone should have this DVD in their library. I don't think it's watch once, get it all, because I literally had professors on the show and we had it's intense. It's a lot of information. We're going to continue the no shipping sale on all the PBS things. We're going to kind of do a little week-long drive of PBS. So free shipping, we're going to continue it. But what I was going to say is, so 6 months after they start to air it, which was January 1, we are allowed to post one of the shows. And so I decided when I was reading this email that we would post the show on grading. And the gal who teaches it and the gal that we talked to, I think there's 2 different girls that we spoke with. They've been doing grading for 40 years. So they're the old-fashioned way, the new way. We're showing both methods for you. So we're going to put that up for the Thursday night video this week. That will be the Thursday night video, the one on grading. So look forward to that, watch it, and you'll be able to really digest what's happening, how you can apply it. It's just very easy. But there clearly are some things that you need to know, or else it's not easy. It's like anything. It can be really difficult if you don't know what you're doing. All right, so we'll plan on that. We'll put up the grading video on Thursday night, and then we won't address it tonight. We'll continue with our ideas for 709, if that works. All right, so we're going to start with fitting 709. Again, because we did Belinda, and we did hers in the 600, and this is off the base of 600. Although having said that, it's going to fit a little bit better because it's got a princess seam. So what I did and what I would suggest is to make up your muslin. And you don't have to just do the front, the side, the back, and the side back. And I'm going to have you in this case do a sleeve, because when I introduced this pattern, the goal was to obviously every time I do a blouse pattern, all the blouse sleeves fit in all the blouses. And so I gave a 2-piece sleeve. So this blouse has a 2-piece sleeve. I love it. It says that you can use a little heavier fabric and the blouse will have a little more shaping to your arm than just a blouse sleeve that's all one piece. Typically, if blouses are very lightweight, a silk, something of that nature, they don't need a lot of shaping. But if you get into a little heavier fabric like the one I've got on, you want to have a little more shaping with that fabric. Too much extra gives you just not as, I think, as nice of a look. Okay, so I started and I just made those 4 pieces so far. I took chalk and I chalked right down center front on both pieces. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to make sure in my fitting process that I bring the center fronts together, and I want to make sure that I have them marked appropriately. So I'm going to pin these center fronts together, and just a couple pins all the way down the front will work. All right, so we're first going to start with length. Question, I'm sorry, can we still get in for the PoM club for June through December? We're actually not going to do a half-year PoM this year. It really gets too confusing, and it's more difficult for us to plan. And we announced that last December. So we're only going to do PoM membership one time a year, and that will be every December. So there will not be a 6-month anymore. Okay, so if we go through and stick with our L, C, and D, just like we did classic blouse, you'll see that this is actually in many ways easier than the classic blouse. And I'll tell you why. But first off, it's a princess seam. So we don't even have to worry about L because we have an error factor, and I know enough about bodies and patterns that no one will have to lower or do anything to that princess seam. It's close enough that it will work beautifully, and if there's something you don't like, it's not length. It'll be something else. So we don't have any length issues typically in a princess seam. So the next one is circumference. I was in Minneapolis over the weekend, and I just have to say hello to the lovely ladies. We had a wonderful time, and the ladies we learned so much about choosing size, and many of us just don't choose the right size to start with. And I always say measure some blouses that you like, and everyone comes back with, I don't have any blouses. The only thing that does is it shortcuts you choosing your size. So if you don't have anything you like, make your best guess. But again, if you're in the wrong size, don't try to fix it, because again, of all the seams this has, just simply, it's only 4 pieces, make a different one. Don't get discouraged. It's just, it's all on a little path, and every step forward is a good one. Whether it's not successful or not, they're all good steps. All right, you got to keep that in mind. Okay, so what we're going to do here, and I think I'm going to go to the other side just because that arm is not in the way. You can see there's some gapping and some extra fabric in here. You're going to choose the appropriate cup size, but if there's any kind of gapping in here, it just means that that cup size isn't correct. And so it calls for, and I've done this before, it's a little 2-ended dart. And you'll see that it'll start right at the side seam, and it will taper to nothing at the princess seam. And so I'm just going to pin that like that. And because it's in that side seam, you'll take it through to the back. Oops, I'm wiping everybody out there. And you'll see that it again will taper to nothing at the princess seam in the back. And so let's pull up picture 1, Benjamin, if you don't mind. Picture number 1. I've shown what this little alteration is going to look like. And if you look at piece number 2 and piece number 4, that's what this alteration it will look like. So I just want to review it to make sure you get it, because so many times I think, oh, they get it, but they don't get it, or you're not, you're not even knowing that you don't get it to ask questions, if that's fair. So this is going to be a dart, and if you look at piece number 2, you can see that dart starts at the side seam, tapers to nothing at the princess seam. So it will be different amounts on everyone. Some will not need it at all. Some will need it. So if you're a triple D or a G, or bigger than our D cup, look to see if there's any gapping at the armhole, and that fix is going to be right there. It's about where the normal bust dart would be. It just means that the dart was moved and the amount of that dart is not enough, and so a dart wannabe still hangs out. There's that fabric and it says, dart me, please, dart me, I need a dart. So the amount that's going to the front, the amount that's going to the back is the same. Again, notice on piece 2 and 4, 2 is the side front and 4 is the side back. And you can see that I have both of the side seams are the same, and they taper to nothing to the princess seam. Gapping means cup size is too big or too little. Too little. Too little. So basically, if we talk about for a minute what cup sizing is cup sizing is when I measure from the base of the neck over the bust to the waist, and then I call that A, and then I measure from the shoulder to the waist at the side, and I call that B. So the difference between A and B is cup sizing minus the shoulder seam. You've got to minus that. But if there's gapping over here, that means I didn't take enough away. The gapping represents too much fabric and not enough has been taken away. So that means I need a larger dart. I don't want to do it in the princess seam. It's too complex. It's much easier to just come to the side seam, take a pinch, take that gapping away, and I'm good to go. Okay, very simple to do. On yourself, when you're doing it for yourself, you might have to take it off, pinch it, sew it, and then put it back on. But that's okay. Just reach over, approximate how much it is, put a pin in there if you need to, and then bam, to both front and back. Okay, easy enough? Very good. Okay, then the next thing we're going to look for is depth. These are all depth issues. Sorry, you guys, these are all depth issues. So the length, there was really nothing. The circumference, if it's not the right size, then just make a different size, either larger or smaller. The only thing I would say to you is, and I kind of discovered this when I was in Minneapolis. I mean, I discovered it before, but not to the extent, is so many times we buy ready to wear. And when we buy ready to wear, if our hips are larger than our chest, which is 99% of women, because we gain weight in the bottom half of our bodies. So in ready to wear, we can't choose one size for the top and one size for the bottom. We have to choose a larger size. It has to go around our hip. So we end up compromising the whole upper part of our body. And we don't realize how much larger we look when we go large, you know, shoulders too wide, bust too big, all of that to fit our hips. So we're sewing now. And the best news about sewing is we're going to pick this out by the bust circumference, the blouse circumference, not by the hip. Even if you look at the paper or the back of the envelope, I'm sorry, and you say, oh my, I need to go 2 sizes bigger. I don't care. You've got all these seams. You've got 2, you've got 1, 2, because it's on both sides, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You've got 14 places. So even if you're 14 inches larger, that's just 1 inch to each of those seams. A princess seam is a beautiful way to change from one area to another. So just utilize all of your seams. Even if you feel like you've got a tummy in the front and it's bigger, just don't do that. Just equalize circumference throughout all of your seams and it will really make a huge difference. But don't make it big everywhere just because your hips are larger than your bust. Okay, don't do that. Okay, my fullness is much lower than the pattern. How do I raise? My fullness is much lower than the pattern. How do I raise the fabric to match me? If your fullness is lower, you would lower. But if you're talking about your bust, it's not. It's not, you guys. I mean, just, you've got a 6-inch variable, and I guess I should answer your question rather than argue with you. So if you go underneath the armhole and above the bust point, there's an area that you can cut and add. And if you want to do that, I would say go ahead. I will tell you that in all the women I fit, 709, 625, all of our princess seams, I have never had to lower the princess seam, ever. Regular size, W size, I'll just leave it at that. And then if you think that that's the answer, then you're gonna do what you're gonna do. Why didn't you just adjust the shoulder angle first before increasing the size of the bust dart? Just probably because it was right there staring me at the face. You should start at the shoulder seam, you guys. I apologize. You should start here. I'm going to do that also because I always say start at the top and go down. It doesn't matter, 6 of one, half a dozen of another, as long as you understand they're both depth issues and as long as you understand that they kind of work in tandem, that you want to look at both. So look at both. One won't do the job of the other. You need both of them. And if there's a gap, pull up and fix the shoulder first, and then just make sure it's nice and clean on the side, like that is. And then if we go back to picture 1 for a second, you can see on picture 1 where I changed the angle of the shoulder. And, I didn't change the angle of the shoulder. I'm sorry. That would be on piece number 1 to 2. You'd put those 2 pieces together, and where 1 stopped, the same amount would pick up on number 2. And the same with 3 and 4, where 4 would start and it goes into 3, it would pick up there. What I did put on here though is I wanted to show you that if you did a rounded back in 600, you might not necessarily need a rounded back in this pattern. And the reason being is because how the base pattern is made, the base pattern has the bust dart and the waist dart. And in the back, it has a shoulder dart and a waist dart. So in the back on 600, because I don't want a dart there, I build it into the blouse. But anytime you build a dart into the blouse, rather than it physically being there, you are never going to get as consistent a fit across the board as you are as if you leave it in its primary location. So when I have a princess seam, I have that shoulder dart in its primary location. It hasn't been moved. And so that is actually going to be a more accurate fit than it is to move it anywhere or build it in, either one. So just FYI, even if you did a rounded back on the 600, I probably wouldn't just do it off the board. I would make the 709 first and then see. And if you need it, then you can always cut and add it. It'll just take one step. Okay? So I showed you on that illustration, sorry, Benjamin. I showed you on that illustration how to do the rounded back. It's just goes from piece 3 is center back, and it just continues over to piece 4. And where the princess seam is, you just make sure that those two amounts as they match, so that the seam line is equal, that those two amounts are the same. Many women, I've seen them sew princess seams for whatever reason, history, whatever, they think that a princess seam has to be eased. And a princess seam does not need to be eased, nor I would never ease it. Just so in any of the patterns I've ever made professionally, privately, I've never eased a princess seam. I don't think it looks good. I don't think it's complementary to our figures to ease in that area. So there's no ease going on in the princess seam area. In the front here, if you need to use the seam, you certainly can. On some women, they're a little more hollow than on others. So if you need to use that area, just use the seam. And you can just take out of it and do it right in the seam. You've got enough on both pieces that you can just take it out right out of that seam. Okay? Then you would redraw the armhole after adjusting the sleeve angle. You would. And here's the good news about adjusting the armhole is we are having templates made as we speak. We've worked on them. We are making plastic templates. So they will come in a set of 8. You'll have front and back sleeveless, front and back knit, front and back blouse, and front and back jacket. And that will be one size for the regular size, 1 through 4, and one for the W size, 5 through 8. And they're going to be very affordable because been in workshops and I see what you all use for templates, and I cry. I just literally cry when I see you're using paper or you're using, flexible things that aren't rigid. So we're doing them on plastic. You'll be able to cut them out, and we'll put a little ring in there so you can put them all in a little ring holder and hang them somewhere just to where you can use them and really make them happen. But yes, when you change the shoulder, you wouldn't change the sleeve. You would just restore that armhole right back to where it was by just using your template and sliding it down. Okay? Is there still some gapping in the bust area? No. I mean, that's pretty straight from here to there. I think it looks really good. Where in relation to the waist does the inverted V of the overlap of the shirt hit? It's right below your waist. Equal to, lower to, by how much? It's all styling, so it doesn't make any difference. If you feel like you want it to lap lower, you can just take it and add here and cross it more. This is all styling. There's no has to or meant to or anything. It's a little below the waist so that when when I've got it on and you want to put a pair of pants on, you wouldn't want it to be above your waist unless you want it above your waist. It's all styling. So we're going to see in some of these others, I've changed the angle of this, and you have a lot of fun by doing that. Okay? And then you can see that fit is got rules to it, and styling is just fun. You can kind of do whatever you want. Okay, so I want to go over the sleeve because the 2-piece sleeve, I want to make sure you understand it. It's a beautiful sleeve to use. And what you want it to do is, and I don't have it exactly like I want it here. But anyway, what I want you to see is that in order to bend a sleeve more, you're going to take a dart. And again, it's a dart. And you're going to take it, let's go back to illustration 1 again, if you don't mind. No one's arm is straight. So whenever you put a straight sleeve on a bent arm, which we all have bent arms, you're going to see wrinkles that go diagonal up to the sleeve cap. And I've probably gotten 400 emails over the years about how do I get rid of those wrinkles? And you don't. On a one-piece sleeve, you don't. They're meant to be in a blouse. They're meant to be in a soft, silky fabric, and the wrinkles are meant to be harmless. However, if I go into a little heavier fabric, I really want to take on a two-piece sleeve like a jacket sleeve, but it doesn't have a shoulder pad, and so it's a two-piece blouse sleeve. And so that's what this pattern offers you is this sleeve will fit into any other blouse out there. It'll fix it into 600, 611, whatever. It fits into all of them, but it is a two-piece sleeve. But the angle of this has to be correct, or it will twist also. If the angles don't match, if this is too straight for your arm or your arms are too bent, just be aware. Now, also be aware that as we age and as we kind of roll forward, our arms have a tendency to bend more. So just be aware that many times if you have to move the seam forward or if you have to do a rounded back, watch the sleeve, because most likely you might have to check that sleeve also. So in this illustration here, what I did is I showed you the dart, the bust dart, and that's if there's any gapping. I didn't show you the shoulder angle. You all are aware of that. I appreciate that you know how to do that, and because I forgot. I showed you the rounded back, and then I showed you a two-piece sleeve. And if you notice in the two-piece sleeve, the widest part of the dart is in the front in both cases, and it tapers to nothing to that other seam. So there's two seams on a two-piece sleeve, and that's why there is. So you can take a dart. The dart is always going to be in the front. It's going to shorten how much is being taken away, and then taking to nothing in the back. And it will give the sleeve a greater bend. And that is all the fitting issues you'll have with 709. It's just a really great fitting top. It's beautiful. I think you'll really enjoy it. So let's do fun stuff. Any other questions on fitting? Are we good? Okay, good. Let's put our little fit woman away. For now, if we need to come back to it, we will. And I'm going to kind of, because we couldn't fit all these stands in here, I'm going to kind of pick this up. And I'm going to give her away. Okay, so the very first styling one I want to deal with is this bright little, this was really fun. This was really fun for me to do, was this little tie-dyed one. And so I love this. My goal, what I kind of do is I think to myself, okay, so it's a woven blouse. Can it be a knit? What can it be? What else can it be? And what are the, I don't want to overhaul it as much as I just want to change it and make it a lot of fun. And especially where there's fun fabrics like this. So in this particular case, what I did is I'm using it, and let's pull up number 2. Is it necessary to alter the sway back? Yes, I'm sorry, I did miss that, sorry. Yes, if you have a sway back, you'll want to alter that also. Okay. If we go into this, I want you to look at what I did here. So if you look at piece number 2 and piece number 4, I pulled in my knit sleeve. So that sleeve that you're seeing there, I took away the 2-piece sleeve and I brought in a short knit sleeve. And obviously I did that because it's a knit now and I don't need a 2-piece sleeve. And I would want, most likely if you do a knit and you do an armhole that is a blouse size, you won't like it. It's a little bit too sloppy and I don't care for it. So that armhole is smaller typically. So I raised the armhole. I used my knit template. I put it on the piece number 2, piece number 4, and I've got my short sleeve in there. Okay, so none of the other pieces were changed except for piece number 1. And I want to show you what I did. So this is, and I put this on there so that I wouldn't have to keep looking for it. This is fabric number 2377. And I love this. And I'll show you a couple things I did that I think you'll pay attention to. So the first thing I did is I took the straight of the pattern. Let me kind of show you what this fabric looks like. This has like it kind of has like a little stripe through it. So I put the very front of the pattern right on that dark red stripe. So that's why you see the ruffle is darker than everything else, because if you open it up like this, you can see there's the edge of the pattern, and I stuck it right on the dark portion. And if I show it like that, I did both. So both of those got the red portion, and I'm going to put it like that just for a little bit while we talk, so you can see that there's the front. But that is not the way that the fabric stretches. The fabric only has one-way stretch. So you can see throughout the rest of the blouse, here's the stripe, here's the stripe, here's the stripe on the bottom of the sleeve. I followed it all the way throughout the rest of the top, so that everything matched in the princess seam, even the bottom of the sleeve. And so you can just line it all up so that it all goes together other than the front. The front is completely different. So with this fabric, I guess because it's kind of hippie looking and tie-dyed, and I just really, really liked it, I wanted to make the blouse really casual, and construction-wise, I wanted to make it casual as well. And I know there's no such thing as that, but so what I did is I overlapped the seams and just top stitched. So there's no right sides together. I didn't do any of that. The shoulder seams, I did the same. The back, I overlapped those seams and just top stitched. Hey Benjamin, do you think you could zoom in on those? Or should we leave it? Look, we're going to zoom in on this just because we can. I want you to see those top stitched seams right there. There we go. And let's just leave it zoomed in for a little bit. Okay, so when we come around the front, there again you can see that that seam is just laid over and stitched on top. And what I like about it is it almost goes with and kind of matches the roughness of the blouse, I'm going to say, if that's a good word. Okay, so what I don't like, let's just leave it close here for a minute. What I don't like about a unfinished blouse is that when you get to the bottom, you have a curl, and I just don't like that the sleeves and the hem don't hang correctly or the way I want them to. So if you looked at what I did, is I took the binding at the bottom. It's not really binding, but it curls. The edge of the fabric curls in a whole bunch, and I literally uncurled it, sewed it to the bottom that was unfinished, and then I let it curl over the bottom. So if we look at the sleeve here, I just cut long strips. It actually curls over because that's what it's hard to get it to uncurl. So I cut the strip the width of the sleeve, I uncurled it, I stitched it right on the raw edge, and then I let it curl up over. I've seen it in ready to wear, and I really, really like it. So I did it on both sleeves, and then I did it on the hem. I did it all the way around because I noticed that even when, like when I do an Armani and it's expensive, and they don't finish any of the edges, I can't stand the bottom because the bottom just doesn't stay down like I like it. And so I put a hem on the bottom so that it would really lay flat. And you can see that it's about a half an inch on the bottom that it added to it. So the neck edge I left just raw. I did put a little stitch on there just because I liked the way it looked. And then you can see that what is here makes the ruffle. Just by letting it go, you're going to put this together, and I sewed right down center front. And that's a little ruffle that it causes. And I like that it's darker. And then, of course, the rest of the blouse is lighter. It kind of gives it a little bit of a focal. I want to talk about this portion because if you go back to when we fit it, the neckline is way up here. And because I wanted it to have a little more V-neck, I cut this down. So if you'll look at number 2, Benjamin, if you'll pull up picture number 2. Okay, so right there, if you'll notice, the red line is center front. If we're looking at piece number 1, the red line is center front, and that was what I sewed together. And then after I sewed them together, you can see where I cut down, and there's 1 inch that I took away. But if you'll notice at this portion, I didn't take anything away. I just cut it down in through here and then back up to the neck edge. And that didn't change this ruffle or how much it ruffled at all. It didn't change any of that. What it did is it lowered the neck edge to where it wasn't as confining on my neck. And that's the only change I did. I did the sleeve and the armhole. I pulled in a knit sleeve, and then I lowered this neckline. I did it once, I sewed it together. And you can do it, you can just sew it without any changes, put it on, and then really you'll start to see how much of a V-neck you want. You could even lower it more if you wanted, but I just really love the way it looks. And I love the blouse. I mean, I just love the blouse. I put it on and I, did the happy dance. You jump up and down and say, whoa, I love this blouse. I love this blouse. And again, very simple. The most time-consuming thing for me was overlapping the seam. If you did them right sides together, you'd save yourself a bunch of time, but I really wanted a very, kind of a raw look. And save your edges, and that way you can just cut these tube things, and that's what you can use around the bottom and around the sleeves. All right? Okay, so let's answer the questions. The armhole looks very deep for a shorter person. Are you talking about the armhole on the blouse? Yeah, just, you guys, don't predetermine stuff like that. Don't prejudge. You can measure the pattern. I promise the armholes are just terrific. Our sleeves and armholes fit really well if you've not ever worked with on a silhouette patterns. So don't worry about that ahead of time, okay? What's the name of the fitting book you used in college? It wasn't a fitting book. We didn't have a fitting book. We had a pattern drafting book, and it was flat patterned by the Apparel Method, and it was by Norma Holland, Hollen. That was our flat pattern book that we used. We draped, and we did not have a draping book. We were taught draping off mannequins. There was no text that we used on that. But flat pattern making is that one. You guys get into the flat pattern class. This is the last week. We're going to cut it off on Saturday because the class starts next week or the week after. I can't remember, but get into that class. Okay, why do you want a lower armhole on a woven blouse and a closer fitting armhole in a knit? Well, the smaller the armhole, the more flattering the blouse, the garment is on you, whether it's a blouse or a knit, woven or knit, it doesn't matter. So the smaller the armhole, the smaller the sleeve, the less fabric, you'll look thinner. You'll look better. But in a blouse, because blouses are made out of woven fabric, you have to have ease, and because you need a larger sleeve, you have to have a larger armhole. But in a knit, the fabric does the moving, because the ease is literally built into the fabric, so I can decrease the arm, the sleeve, and I can decrease the armhole that it goes into. So we always have a smaller sleeve and armhole on a knit than we do on a blouse. What do you mean by overlapping? Overlapping means put one on top of the other. Overlapping. Rather than putting right sides together, you take one, you put it on top, and that's called overlapping. So the front piece is off grain to place it on the dark stripe because there's no grain on knit. Yeah, there's no grain on knit, you guys. There's no grain. You can put it however you want, but you do have to pay attention to the stretch. And so this is not the stretch of this is the stretch of the fabric going this way on this front piece, not this way. There's no stretch going this way. So that would only work for the front piece. So the rest of it the stretch has to go around the body, so it turns out being a knit. Is this an I2I knit? No. This is fabric number 2377. It's 100% cotton. How much fabric did you use? I used 2 yards. Did you cut some of the seam allowance off the knit tee? Yes, I did. Once I overlapped the seams and I sewed them, I just cut the seam allowance off. I didn't want a lot extra. And so it was real easy to just cut it down to what I wanted. Are we good with that? Is the front completely closed? Yeah, it's stitched all the way down. There's a stitch line that goes all the way down. You literally slip it over your head. I love this top. I mean, I just love it. I hope you like it as much as I do. All right, so we're going to put this back, and we're going to go on to the next thing I made was this black knit. I'm going to kind of bring it out of the corner and hang it on this thing right here. And I love this. I actually have something very similar to it that I had bought, and I've worn it and worn it and worn it until I almost wore it out. And when I went to look at it, I thought, oh my gosh, I could do this with this pattern. I could do all of this. I just kind of got excited, you know. It's kind of crazy. But I was really, really excited to do this. So what I did is I travel, and there's nothing better on the airplane than something that's warm and soft and just Just, like a home run. So that was the goal in this one. So let me first tell you the fabric, because to me the fabric is just spectacular. It is 2305 and it's a cotton silk. So the fabric itself is incredibly soft. I mean, it is really just unbelievable. And I know you can't feel it through the camera, through the website or anything, but 2305, it's just really beautiful. So what I did with this is, let's first off talk about the pattern changes. And if you'll put up let's answer these questions. On the overlapped edges, did you fold one seam allowance and place it on the other seam allowance? Yes. Yes. So basically I overlapped 3/8, a 1/4 inch. It's actually a 1/4 inch on each side, sewed, and then I reduced top and I reduced bottom. I cut away from both top and bottom. If you knew you were going to do that, I was still, I'm always kind of playing around with different ideas, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I could have done it before I cut the garment. It would have saved me a little bit of time, but I didn't. I sewed it and then cut it. The advantage of sewing and then cutting it is if you don't sew it straight, it'll look straight afterwards, because you can cut it the same amount from the entire seam. So either way, whatever way works better for you. So the neckline is a raw edge that has an edge stitch to finish. It does, exactly right. Did someone get the name of that book? It's Drafting Apparel Through the Flat Pattern Method. It's the exact same as our video. We just call it basic pattern making, because drafting apparel through the flat pattern method is a little longer. Now, when I say through the flat pattern method, there's two methods of making patterns, creating patterns. One is drape and one is flat pattern. All of your tissue envelopes that you all use, that is all flat pattern. Every pattern you've probably ever touched on is flat pattern. So it's drafting apparel, which is clothing, drafting apparel through the flat pattern method. And that's the book. And it's Norma, N-O-R-M-A, Hollen, H-O-L-L-E-N. Okay? Okay. When you overlap the seams and top stitch, did you trim close to the stitching? I did. I got here late. Please will someone tell me the pattern of the month? June, it's 709, Kelsey's blouse. Someone will tell you. I will. Pattern of the month. 709 is Kelsey's blouse. All right, are we good? Okay. So let's go into this one. I'm so excited. This one I've already worn, because like I said, I'm on the airplane more than I'm on the ground, and I just absolutely love it. So the goal is, you can wear it open. You can totally wear it open if you want, but the way it closes if you want is it has a separating zipper, and if you want to close it, you can, and you can close it as much or as little as you want. And I just love it, love it, love it. This is all just hanging down and open. I mean, I guess you could zip all the way up if you wanted to put that zipper all the way up. I didn't, because the one I have just has like a little zipper right there, and I just really like that. So I kind of just left it open and left it like that. And most of the time, I'll probably not even do this. I'll probably just leave it open. But it's totally your choice of what you want to do and how you want to do it. But let's look at the pattern work. Pattern work is really simple, really easy. It's number 2, Benjamin. Okay, so I'm sorry, did I give you the wrong number? Yeah, number 2. There we go, number 2. Okay, so I added 6 inches to this. So you can see that's the red portion that I've got on the bottom of all those pieces, is adding 6 inches. That's styling. That's just, if you want something longer, just add to the bottom. Okay, so it's not anything it's not a magic number. It's just for me, I had already made the blouse and I knew where it came, and then I figured what 6 inches would be longer, and I wanted it to cover my rear end, because if I throw leggings on with it, it's long enough to cover everything, and I love that. I just love it. But I also want to be comfortable, but I also want to kind of at least look halfway decent while I'm comfortable, So that was the goal on this one. I did use my knit sleeve. I used a long sleeve because, again, on airplanes, I freeze to death. And you notice in piece number 4 and piece number 2, again, I used my knit sleeve template that matched the sleeve. So I'd made those changes. Okay, so piece number 1 gets all the action. And if you can see that what I did is, when it comes over the front, I dropped it straight down. That's the green line. So I just dropped it straight. And then, so it still has, if I show this over here against the pink, you'll see it just comes straight down. And the reason it does that is because I wanted the closure to be longer. And again, I was kind of copying the one I had, and I just really liked it. Although it's just beat to death, it's worn out because I've worn it so much. So I brought that way over here, and then again, it's 6 inches longer. And I did the same to both sides. I brought them all the way straight down. And then, so this would be the left side. I put the zipper, and I took just a separating zipper, just a regular separating zipper. We have, we sell them 4 to something, but anyway, I love these metal zippers. And I just used what I needed, and then I cut it off. You could have left the whole thing in there, and it had the whole thing zip. But I just really liked that it was a short little zipper, and that's kind of what I wanted. I didn't want anything metal up there. And then the zipper just literally, I just turned the seam allowance back, and the black tape shows. It's not like you can't see the black tape. This one goes into the seam, and then this portion stays out. All right, easy enough? Easy, easy. I hope you love that. The fabric is amazing. It's just incredible. I did do a back facing on this one. I think, did I add that on there? Does that, yeah, see right there, up there? I put that up there, that back facing. It comes with a pattern. But I put that up there because I wanted to make sure with the zipper that the back had kind of balanced the weight. And so I did put a, I know you're not going to be able to see this, but I did put a facing back there. And then what I did is I stitched the facing down. Because like when you're putting on a sweater, you don't want to have to worry about is the facing down or is it sticking up or all that kind of stuff. So I just literally stitched it right on top of the facing from the inside. And I've seen sweaters like that have a nice little stitch there on the inside. All right, and so the questions are, is the zipper in the princess seam on the left front? It is. It is in the princess seam on the left front. And so what I did is before I sewed the princess seam together, I just put it in, and you can approximate about where your waist is. That's where you want it. But it's like 6 inches long, so it doesn't have to be exactly right. And there you go. Ah, I just love that. What's the size of the zipper? Well, this is an 18-inch zipper, and I just cut it off. Now what I did is I just stitched at the very top of these teeth so that this it can't go off the end. I just hand stitched with thread, and I went around and around that teeth so the zipper can't come off the top. And I just left it raw. And again, it's because I've seen them done like that, and so I thought if they can do it, so can I. Or you can just wear it open, and wearing it open gives you lots of room to just kind of wrap up if you decide you just want to wrap up. Again, it's so soft. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, are we good on that one? Okay, did you attach the facing to the back shoulder as well as the back? I did. I sewed it just like the pattern. I just stitched it down rather than letting it flop. Like on the pattern, you don't really need it. And so I stitched it down. And again, it was just to stabilize it. I don't know that you'd really need it, but I just wanted to make sure it was stable. Would the black one look okay without a zipper? Yeah, I just liked it. It's just totally your call. It's all styling, you guys. It's just what you decide to do. How is the front neck finished? Literally, this fabric is really hard, and one reason I use this fabric, it's really hard to tell the difference between both sides. They're so very similar. So I just serged the neck edge and turned and top stitched it. And Benjamin, do you think you can grab this? We're going to zoom in on this so you can see it a little bit better. And then you can see, so when it folds back, you're actually looking at the side that's been stitched. So we're going to come in a little closer and see, so you can try to see that. Can you come in close, 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 close? There you go. Yeah. See, there it is. You can see that, but it just, I mean, it looks nice. It gives a little bit of drape, and it really looks nice. Then there's the zipper. And there's the other side. And you can see this fabric has a little bit of a rib to it. It's really pretty. Are you doing that, or is it doing it? The camera's got a mind of its own, so hang on and it'll fix itself. Yeah. All right, so again, I just stitched and turned, and then it just has, it's almost like a fold over elastic. It's kind of how it looks, to be honest. It looks really easy and it looks really good. Okay. We'll do away with that one. How much fabric did you use? I used 2 yards. Again, there's no specific placement. It's all going with the stripes. There's no facing. It's only 1 layer of the front, the back, and then a knit sleeve. So 2 yards is enough to do it. All right, we'll put this one back. Okay, then we're going to go and play with this one. How did you finish the front neck edge? I just serged it and turned it and top stitch. So I just love this. I just really like it. Obviously I like them. I should stop saying that because I wouldn't make them if I didn't like them, right? I mean, I even actually get really excited about the ideas when I'm thinking about it. You know, you'd think I'd never sewn anything before. But anyway, with this, I really wanted to make a vest. And I really wanted to make a plaid because this fabric, and I've seen so many plaids in the stores, and I wanted to make it easy to work with. Is that fair? So this is a vest. So what I did is, so in order to use the beautiful selvage on this fabric, because this fabric, let's see, this fabric is 2436. 2436. It is the same on both sides, and it has this great selvage. The selvage is amazing. So I really wanted to take advantage of this. So you can see how I laid the piece, and I did lengthen this 6 inches. With a vest, I wanted to wear it with leggings and a long t-shirt, so I really wanted it to have a longer look. So you can see that the piece is laid at an angle. I love the selvage on this. It's just beautiful. And then when it folds back, it gives you this whole bias look. And because both sides of the fabric are the same, I honestly couldn't tell you what side was right and what side was wrong. And again, if you notice, I just top stitched this. I serged and top stitched, but you just don't even see it. It just really looks nice. Okay, then what I wanted to do is I picked up the rest of it with a navy. With a navy knit. And that navy knit is brand new up. I don't know the number of it. Sorry, you guys. Oh, I'm sorry, 2485. I do too know the number. 2485. So, I did a little gathers in the back. I'll show you that in a minute. So the entire back and the side front are all in the navy. I layered it under this cream. I already had it made. It was in my closet. It's 117. It's the cut up tee. Love that blouse. Love that shirt. And I wear it a lot, so I thought it's perfect with this navy. And then I've got these navy poncho pants, so I am a happy girl. So this is just along the selvage. Let's look at number 3, and I'll show you. I wrote down all the changes that I put on there. And again, pretty easy to see. No, not that. There you go, perfect. So you can see that when I lengthen this now, because I lengthened it 6 inches, you have to be careful on piece number 1. That's kind of what I want you to pay attention to. I only used 4 pieces. I'm going to use the front, the side front, the back, and the side back. I only used 4 pieces because it's a vest. So notice how I re-angled the front seam on number 1. The main reason I did it is because I was lengthening it, and if you don't alter it, change that angle, it'll, you won't have the V in the front. It'll go away. It is styling, but I wanted you to be aware of that. Then if you notice, it's straight also. Now the actual blouse is not straight. It's got a slight curve to it, but because I'm putting it on the edge of the fabric and it's a plaid, obviously you want to straighten that up. So those 2 little changes where I straightened it up and then I re-angled it out a little bit to still have the same amount of gap there. Those are just things to remind you to do when you do that, because you can, kind of waste your fabric. I did a little hook and clasp here at the waist because I just wanted something light. You certainly wouldn't need that. You could just wear it open. It was such a light vest. It was such light fabric. All of it's so light. I really just decided a little clasp could be there. If I didn't want it to be there, it didn't have to be there. If I didn't want to use it, I could certainly wear it open, and I wouldn't have this heavy clasp banging all over the place. It's really lightweight. It's the circle and that closure, and I think that is 2063. 2063. It's in the fabric page, 2063. You can see the closure. Okay. So that one's just really easy. No time at all to sew. Just quick. Oh, Yes, I did put elastic in the back of the one you're wearing. I actually put it in the back of this one also. Let me just show you this one too. So basically you're going to take 3/4. It's 1 to 1.5. So just measure whatever the back length is, and I just took I took my 2-inch wide elastic and I just cut it down to be a 1/2 inch wide. I didn't want it to be real wide. I wanted it to be smaller, and it's a really nice complement to the vest. It's not just loosey-goosey. It has some shape to it because you know it has a princess seam. So it's loose. You can wear it open in the front, but at the same time it has some shaping to it, and I just really like it. It's very flattering on. I really, really like that. All right, so what pattern is the black and white skirt? Oh, that was the yoga skirt from last time. The yoga skirt 2010. It was our PoM for last month, but it matched my black, and so I put it on the mannequin. Does your blouse have elastic in the back? Yes, it does. My blouse has. Let's look at my blouse here just for a second, because I've got the changes I did on this too. So this is the blouse I have on. It's actually the first one I made, and the reason I did is because I wanted to check out sizing. I wanted to check out where my waist was. I wanted to have all those variables checked, because it's helpful to make it one time so that when you go through it, you know where the waist is. You know all of those things when it's made up. And then you could mark it or mark the pattern, either one, and go back. So I knew where the zipper I wanted to go on the next one. I knew where the elastic I wanted to go, because in this one, as you can see in the back, I put elastic across the back. But this is fabric 2443. It is Escada. It's that beautiful fabric from Escada, 2443. And it's not, what I love about this fabric is it's not like it's got Escada all over the fabric. It's a beautiful piece, and we're going to zoom in and just, you're going to look at the front of this, or Benjamin's going to zoom in on the front of this. And so you can see right there the word Escada. And now I placed it to where it was right on the front. Those are leather buttons that we have. Those leather buttons are 1264. They're a 1-inch leather button. And then you can see it on the top of my sleeve. So those are the two places I placed it, just so that, you know, it's not shouting in your face, but certainly Escada is a very recognizable name. The blouse would probably be $1,000 if I were to bought it. But I just love it. I used 2 yards of fabric, and I made it just like the pattern. The only thing I did different is, instead of using the princess seams to bring it in a little bit, I dropped them straight. I cut it a little wider, and then I put the elastic in on the back. So I created like a little bit of a peplum there in the back. You can see that. Okay? Oh, can they see? Perfect. Okay? Also, just FYI, peplums are, it's not that peplumy. I mean, you saw it, but they're really flattering, because whatever's under the peplum will look smaller than the peplum. So it's a really flattering look. And then I forgot, I did do a 3/4 sleeve, just because I wanted to be summer. I want it to be a blouse I can wear all summer long. I don't think for winter I would want layers, and I didn't want it to be layers. I wanted it to be all by itself, and I just was really pleased with it. I was really happy with it. And so if you'll put up picture number 4, the last one, I just want to show you the changes I did here. So you can see I made no changes to anything other than this length of the sleeve. This is exactly as the pattern is. It's the 2-piece sleeve, fitted, of course, but I just made the sleeve a little bit shorter. And then the placement, when you place it, obviously I placed the word Escada first. I placed it on the front, and then I went and figured out the rest of it. But it's just a lot of fun. Are the plastic templates for sale yet? They'll be for sale next Tuesday. I believe next Tuesday they're supposed to be ready. Is the one you are wearing just as the pattern is? It is. There's no changes to it. It's done exactly like it is. Did you add circumference at the back of the vest and the blouse? I did not add circumference at the back of the vest. It's a knit and it's a vest. So generally when you make a vest or a knit, you can bring it in a little bit closer. I didn't. I made it just like the blouse, and then I brought it, and so there would be extra because it's a knit, and then I used that to bring in. The one I have on, when I was cutting the pieces, the side panel, they're a little curved, and I dropped those straight. And then on the back pieces, I dropped them all straight. So I gave myself a little bit extra to have before I brought it in. Okay. Did you add circumference? Yeah, so I answered that. Did you add circumference at the back of the vet? Yeah, I answered those. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so you have everything I know. You know everything I know. Hopefully you'll like something that will spur you to get sewing. It's just so much fun. I think we finally hit a little bit of good weather. Cross fingers. I know we've had plenty of all kinds of rain, everything. The flying the other night, coming back, there was a lightning storm. We had to circle around because we couldn't come into lightning. I'll tell you something, there is probably nothing more beautiful than watching lightning in an airplane. It is just incredible. The sky was beautiful, and you could see it for forever, and it just lit up like crazy, and you were like above it. I don't ever remember being on a plane watching lightning, but it is really pretty. Probably not the safest thing to do to go into it, but like I said, we were flying around, and fortunately the airline had plenty of gas, so we got a chance to kind of watch the lightning. It was really, really pretty. All right, we'll answer these couple little questions, and they are the type you used in the yoga pant in half to use it as... Oh, the elastic we sell, the 2-inch wide elastic, you can cut that down to any length you want. I'm sorry, to any width. So it starts off as 2-inch, and then what I did is I cut, the back of this was 1 inch, and the back of this was a 1/2 inch. So you can cut it any width you want to use it. That's why this 2-inch elastic is amazing, because it's like all the elastic you'll ever need. It's terrific. Is the princess seams in the back of the blouse you have on? Yes. Back and front, yes. I didn't make any changes to the pattern. This is the pattern just as it is. How did you attach the elastic? Did you make a casing? I did not. I just literally put it into the blouse and top stitched it in place. What did you do with the back princess seams? They're in the blouse. They're there. I didn't do anything with them. Just sewed them exactly like they are. Is this back neckline portrait collar supposed to pull away from the neck? No, it should, I mean, the whole collar pulls away from the neck. It's a portrait collar. I think if you just put it on, when you make a muslin with this, you should put the collar on. If you're making it just like it is, I would put the collar on, because it stands up, but it shouldn't be so low that it's sticking out, if that's fair. Is the elastic at the waist or above the waist? So the whole collar is like up and around, but it shouldn't be so crazy that it's going nuts. Okay, what was that last question? Did I get that? Elastic waist at the waist or above the waist? You generally want to do it above the waist. Don't do it at the waist. It's a little bit more flattering if it's above the waist, and then it leads to show off your beautiful waist. All right, you got it. Like I said, you know everything we know. Now it's just sewing time. None of these will take you very long. I can't, time, I hate to ever tell you how much time it took, because it doesn't matter. The good news is you get started and it'll just happen. It'll be done really quick. And like I said, you won't struggle with the fitting. The fitting is really fun. And the only thing I want to say left is, because it is Benjamin's birthday, we're going to say happy birthday, Benjamin, for being here during his birthday. We have some special treats for him though afterwards. All right, y'all, see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for being here. Bye.